Go back just 30 years, and dating was a local, in person sport. You met someone through work, a friend, maybe a bar, perhaps church. The phone call was a scheduled event. Now it's a global digital carnival happening out right now in your pocket. We have more options than any generation before us, yet so many of us feel more lonely and frustrated than ever. Welcome back to Perspectives of Jerry. If you find yourself nodding along to the challenges of modern dating, please do me a favor and hit that like button and then also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my other future deep dives and other perspectives on what I've seen change throughout my years on Earth. Today, we're going to break down the last 3 decades of modern dating, contrasting the experiences of men and women from the 90s all the way up through the 2020s. Now, we're not doing this to point fingers, but to genuinely understand the massive cultural and technological shifts that change the fundamental rules of romance for everyone. So, the 90s were the tail end of traditional courtship. The expectation for men was to lead, call, and pay. Success was determined by confidence in approaching someone in real life and committing early to show seriousness. For women, dating was mostly about vetting candidates induced by your social circle. There was less control over who you met, but high clarity on the man's intentions once the date was safely arranged. Safety and a partner's stability were primary concerns. The challenge for everyone was access. If you didn't run in the right circles, your dating pool was inherently thin. In the 2000s, we were introduced to the early online dating platforms and starting to shift the stigma from desperate to efficient. The big change was when texting arrived. This began the slow death of the decisive phone call, replacing it with lower stakes, constant communication. For men, they now had a wider pool, but the new challenge was learning how to translate online interest into an in-person date, navigating the new ambiguity of digital flirting. For women, they gained autonomy by choosing from profiles, but also had to deal with more unsolicited contact and the mental burden of dating strangers rather than people vouched for by friends. Today's dating scene is defined by the app economy. It's high volume, instantly available, and heavily reliant on a handful of photos. We've gone from a local pool to a global ocean. For men, the volume is high, but the competition is amplified on apps. Success often comes down to profile quality and quick, witty messaging to stand out from the endless pile. Many feel easily replaceable. For women, they have a huge volume of initial matches and messages, giving them a high selective power. However, this often leads to burnout from sifting through low-effort contacts and dealing with the constant, low-grade harassment that is unfortunately common on these platforms. So, if we have limitless choice, why does it feel like finding a genuine connection is harder than ever? This is the point where the problems for young men and young women intersect in the 2020s. Dating apps are built for efficiency, not commitment. This leads to a psychological phenomenon called choice overload or the grass is greener syndrome. If you're on a first date, a small voice in the back of your head whispers, "Is the person I just swiped on better than the person across from me?" This creates a culture of perpetual vetting where both men and women avoid fully investing in connection because there's always the next best thing just one swipe away. This is the root of modern situationship, a relationship that lacks definition because neither person wants to close the door on other options. Technology has made avoidance easy. Ghosting, or just simply disappearing, replaces the difficult but necessary conversation of, I don't think this is working. This is terrible for everyone's mental health as it trades short-term discomfort for long-term emotional confusion. Furthermore, social media encourages performative connection. We get good at crafting the perfect profile, but fear the vulnerability required for real intimacy. It's safer to flirt and impress digitally than open up and risk rejection in rejection in person. Young adults today face soaring rates of anxiety and loneliness. Throwing yourself into the high rejection, highly competitive dating pool compounds this. For men, they feel intense pressure to constantly perform high income, perfect profile, perfect game to even get their foot in the door. Rejection from a massive pool of strangers can be devastating to the self-esteem. For women, they deal with the mental toll of constant harassment and anxiety of navigating personal safety with strangers they met online. They often report burnout from having to manage an overwhelming volume of low-quality interactions. The result is a generation that deeply desires connection, but is also terrified of vulnerability and heartbreak. So, to find connection in the chaos, the rules of the game have changed, but the goal really hasn't. The solution to dating burnout for both men and women is to intentionally shift away from the app-driven mindset. Focus on quality over quantity. Prioritize people who exhibit clear intentions and consistent communication. The dating app is a tool for meeting, not a system for choosing. You must still do the slow, hard, and rewarding work of building a genuine connection in the real world. If you're struggling out there, remember, you're not alone. The system is set up to keep you swiping, not for settling down. Be patient, be kind, and be brave enough to communicate what you actually want. Thank you for staying through the entire video. Please like the video on your way out, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.